it. You got old people that have to stand up. Where are the chairs? Put 'em out. Where are the chairs? On the stage?
Probably under the stage.
Where the hell won't they put them out?
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you want to say something medical, if you have something to say, fill out a speaker's card. Speaker's card at the back table. If you don't fill out a speaker's card, you won't be recognized. Folks, run out of chairs, so standing only. So, for those of you who are under 40 in the chair, if you look around and see someone over 60 standing up, please be a good neighbor and give up the seat for us, please. A lot of people standing. I stand corrected. More chairs are coming out. That's it for person. Let's get it for the speak. Please, the speakers,
think they would get groups. They would get group salads. I mean, it was like Indian. So it's sort of like,
They're on. Leave it on for a minute and 37 seconds.
Everybody down, please. Ready to get started? Find a seat. Everybody quiet down, please. Thank you. So welcome to Cross Street Ward 10's public hearing on the ULIP application. After this public hearing, we are going to have a full board meeting, so you're more than welcome to stick around for that. Before we begin, as we begin every meeting, I'm going to ask everyone to please stand, face the flag, and recite the pledge of allegiance. Flags over here. Left side. After the flag, folks, please quiet down for 10 minutes if you can. And listen, if anybody says they can't hear, this is the sound system we have. If you can't hear, keep your mouth shut and maybe you'll hear better. Okay? There you go. Fine. After the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask everyone to please observe a moment of silence. First of all, I want us all to remember the victims of the terrorist attack against our fellow citizens of Buffalo. And no matter how impassioned or debatable our opinions are, violence and hatred are never the answer for that. There's always more that unites us than divides us. So remember the people who died there: Roberta Drury, Marcus Morrison, Andre McNeil, Aaron Salter, Geraldine Talley, Celestine Cheney, Hayward Patterson, Catherine Massey, Pearl Young, and Ruth Winfield. I also want you to remember the victims of random gun violence in our borough, particularly 11-year-old Kira Tate, who senselessly lost her life this week as well. And finally, closer to home for all of us, our longtime board member Jim McQuaid passed away last week at the age of 75. Recently, Jim was honored by Borough President Gibson a day before he died for his years of service to the community board. And those years of service paled in comparison to his years of support to the Throgs Neck community. Throgs Neck is strong today because of Jim's contributions. So we'll begin with the pledge, and then I ask you to have a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so tonight's agenda for the public hearing. Okay, the agenda tonight was going to be, we're going to have a presentation from the applicants. We're still waiting for some technical issues, so we are going to begin with a statement by our Councilwoman Marjorie Velasquez. Then we'll have some public participation, and then there'll be the presentation, and we'll close with more public participation. I'm going to remind everyone again, personal attacks against a board member, staff member, member of the public, and elected officials and representatives will result in an individual being asked to leave the meeting and could result in meeting's closure. Outbursts from the public after the public speaking portion of the meeting is closed will result in the individual being asked to leave the meeting. If outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace. Authority shall be summoned. We do have some members of the court and precinct here tonight in the back as well. All speakers must address the board members with concerns. These are the board members. If you're coming up here for public speaking, you address these people. I'm glad that everybody's here, but this is not a show or a circus for everybody to just make noise and go on from there. So if you have anything to say, It's addressed to the board members. And no solicitation or electioneering. This is the public hearing on ULURP C 220007 MX CEQR/D/22 DCP 015X. So I'm gonna, before we begin, I'm gonna read a statement from our council member who could not be here tonight. Folks, what did I just say like 5 seconds ago? Okay, this is a statement from New York City Councilmember Roger Velasquez on the Bronx Community Board 10 vote on Bruckner rezoning. Since the community first heard about the rezoning and throughout the many presentations that have been given, I have said that I do not support the Bruckner Boulevard rezoning proposal. Any new development in this community needs to address existing inequities before I would be able to support them. Due to the current lack of existing infrastructure, including acceptable school space, parking, public transportation, and other needs, I cannot support any project that doesn't include remedies for these issues. My intention this evening was to attend the community board meeting and continue to listen to the community stance on the matter of the Bruckner development. Unfortunately, there have been a number of threats made against me on several community forums out of concern for the well-being of my fellow community members and to avoid the distraction of those intent on division. I'm choosing to submit this written testimony. I've always promoted community engagement, whether it is hosting hearings at the city council, opening our district up to participatory budgeting for the first time, holding community meetings on the city's planned homeless shelters, and attending multiple meetings regarding this specific project. I want the community to be able to engage and vote how they believe without the threats of violence espoused by others regarding my presence. I will reiterate that I do not support this proposal, and I will not tolerate the divisive rhetoric of those interested in serving themselves rather than the community. We will continue to work to bring our community forward. Back on the speakers list, please. All right, so as I said before, we're going to start with some public participation, then we'll have the presentation, then we'll come back. Our first public speaker is Michael Chmowski. Very good. Following Michael will be William Sowick and then Joseph D. Tiberius. Everyone's got 3 minutes. And address the board.
To the board, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I'm going to read from a letter that I sent to Chairman Daniel Garodnick of the New York City Department of City Planning back on March 30th. Dear Chairman Garodnick, I'm a current resident of the Bronx, having lived in what is often considered the Waterbury LaSalle community for the past 14 years. Yesterday, Tuesday, 29 March of 2022, I reviewed a portion of the New York City Department of City Planning public review session that took place on Monday, the 28th of March, and which was posted in full in the department's YouTube channel. The portion I viewed, timestamp 155:30 through 2:10:17, dealt with the proposed Bruckner Boulevard upzoning and its associated Trodnick Associates LLC real estate development project. This letter is to inform you that there were several misrepresentations and ambiguities in those 15 minutes of discussion, and I wish to correct the record. Below are the timestamps in which the erroneous questionable statements were made, with the latter enclosed in quotation marks. I'll just give you one. 156:40. Bruckner Boulevard is a wide street. That's the quote. Bruckner Boulevard is a divided roadway, cut evenly in half by the Bruckner Expressway, Interstate 95. Each half serves as a de facto service road to the expressway, consisting of 2 lanes with curbside parking and requisite bus stops in both directions of travel. Each half of this quote-unquote wide street is narrow enough such that the eastbound half limits the size of equipment utilized by our local firehouse, Engine 89, Ladder 50, the station being located between Tremont and Edison Avenue. Drivers of the fire trucks barely have enough room to make the turn out of and into the firehouse. Care must be exercised when doing so. There are 8 other points that I took exception to, okay? In addition to the presentation that day, nothing was said about infrastructure. based on what I heard, which came directly from Proxmec Associates LLC, in my opinion, you cannot believe anything that comes out of that organization, okay? I ask politely that you vote to deny the upzoning to the City Planning Commission and to squash this abomination of a project that Proxmec Associates is looking to ram down the community's throat. Thank you.
Any questions? After William, I got Joseph Tiberius and then Judy Passarelli.
Yes, hi. My name is William Sawicki. My wife and I have lived in Proxmec for over 50 years, and we are currently very happy with the existing zoning that exists right now. We don't feel, okay, that we have to have this upzoning. We have plenty of shopping. We have plenty, okay, of all the facilities that we need, okay? And one big thing, okay, as far as diversification, our neighborhood is so diverse these days, okay, and we feel, okay, that Proxmec should stay the way it is, okay, and we really are against this upzoning. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Ricky. I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Joseph Tiberius, and then Judy Passarelli, and then Lee Agadino.
Hello, first I'm doing it, okay, Barry. My name's Joe, I've been living here for over 27 years of my life. I'm the recent new landowner of 700 blocks of we have here for 7 years. I bought it, the house, got love it, neighborhood the way it is. The one thing I do know about the neighborhood, you know, we all diverse and there's lots up here, not enough stuff for all of us. When the pandemic broke out, I need to leave this area to go somewhere else. When they treat me like animals, I have to sit in a room with a bunch of people, tell you, we're gonna give you a shout, and no privacy, no nothing. You put one sleep, you got one room, get a shot, walk down, stay in the room, 10 minutes, and then you come in. When I got a shot, my booty shop here, it was very nice, I was treated like human beings. I want they treat like human beings, I want to be treated like animals, like the building they want to build there. Please say no.
Thank you. Judy Passarelli, and then Larry Wilson.
As a resident who has lived in this neighborhood for more than 35 years, I want to strongly state my opposition to this upzoning. This neighborhood worked long and hard to get the lower density zoning to stop overdevelopment, and now we are faced with fighting this again because of greedy developers. Our streets are already congested with cars. Our schools are bursting at the seams. Our infrastructure cannot handle additional population. Our hospitals have patients lined up in hallways because of the lack of beds. Our police and fire departments are already overworked and understaffed. It doesn't make sense to upzone when we were already downzoned. The Bavonas have made their money from this neighborhood, and this is how they want to repay us. I am here to tell Mr. Bavona that he needs to build this in Englewood, New Jersey, if he thinks this is such a wonderful plan. Our neighbors have put their life savings into their homes. A mass destruction like this will only bring our property values down. Contrary to the lies they're spewing, that house values will go up. Many people are already stating that if this monstrosity is built, they're leaving this neighborhood, and Bavona and his associates will be solely responsible for the destruction of this entire section of the Bronx. If they hate this neighborhood so much, they can take their store and leave. I would therefore urge the board to deny this application.
That's one, that's it. If there's another one, if there is any more personal attacks against anyone, we'll shut the meeting down right now and go right to the vote. All right? You got one. Larry Wilson. First order. Larry Wilson.
To you?
Other people over here. After Larry Wilson, we have Ron Rao.
Good evening, Community Board 10. My name is Larry Wilson, and I'm a commercial worker, commercial member of 32BJ. I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised in the county. I'm here today on behalf of the union and our 85,000 property service workers in New York City to express our support for the proposed Innovation Queens project. 32BJ members support developers have interest in the community that they build. I am happy to report that the developers affiliated with Rosnett Associates have reached out early and made a credible commitment to creating prevailing wage building service jobs at this site. We estimate that a mixed-use development like this one proposed by developers will be permanently staffed by an estimated 12 to 14 building service workers and will also have approximately 339 new units, of which 94 of those units will be affordable housing in accordance with the mandatory inclusive housing program. These jobs are typically filled by local members of the community, and because of this commitment, will pay families sustaining wages, which help bring working families into the middle class. These apartments are needed for working people in the Bronx. This commitment to good prevailing wage jobs will give opportunity for upward mobility, security, and dignity to working class families. For these reasons, we are in full support of this project. We have full confidence that Rosnett Associates LLC will be a responsible employer and presence in the community. For these reasons, we respectfully urge you to approve this rezoning.
After Ron, I got Michael Pace, and then Mary Lou Mooney.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Ron Rauch, and I am a resident of Edgewater Park. More importantly, I am not here to speak about my personal opinions or my feelings. I'm here to speak to you as a licensed professional engineer with over nearly 2 decades of registration here in New York State. All my experiences in the heavy civil construction field, and I am at a bit of a disadvantage. I have not yet seen the presentation, but I can assure you there will be no slides on infrastructure improvement. There will be no slides showing any new sewer systems installed or any new water delivery systems. There will be no slides showing any increase to emergency services, FDNY, NYPD, sanitation. There will be no slides to show that. And these projects cannot be constructed without these support services. And these support services are usually planned for 10 years out in a capital plan, in the city's capital plan. Having said that, also, I wanted to impress upon you that this project will change the landscape of the neighborhood. The neighborhood is, low density, single family, 2-family homes, and this is the beginning of a larger movement. And I also wanted to say that, again, I don't want to interject my emotion into it. I just want to stick to the facts, and the facts are there is no infrastructure to support this. Their presentation will show it. I don't have to show it because their presentation won't show it. Having said that, I would appreciate your consideration to vote, according to your hearts. And in the absence of Councilperson Marjorie Velasquez being here, I would also like to, for the folks that are recording this for the record, ask our council member to invoke council member deference on this issue so that it can be finalized and it can be ended. So I appreciate your time, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thanks, Michael. We got Mary Lou Mooney, and then Aiden Munasar, and then we're going to go to the presentation.
Hi, my name is Michael Cass, and I've been doing a lot of listening. I've attended nearly every meeting on this, so I've heard a lot what folks have had to say about this housing proposal. What I haven't heard is what we're going to do about our housing prices, This is what it all boils down to. We have a housing crisis because not enough homes are being built, resulting in increasing rents and more homeless families. When rental vacancy rates are dropping as low as 1.4% in Community District 10, that's a housing shortage. When we see thousands of people on the waiting list for Co-op City, that's a housing shortage. When folks say that this project will bring over 1,000 people into the neighborhood, that sounds like over 1,000 people who need it, who aren't being represented here. We do need housing. In the last decade, Bronx Community District 10 permitted so few homes per 1,000 residents, it ranks among the bottom 10 community districts citywide. We're not doing our part. Now, I'm sure there are folks here who are happy about that. That is by design with the Bloomberg era rezoning. But that was done nearly 2 decades ago. It's time to revisit it. I understand it's the position of some board members that apartments are okay if it's already allowed under the current zoning. But the number of housing being built, the amount of housing being built under the current zoning is inadequate. The board says it's not against affordable housing, but a report this week found that in Council District 13, only 58 affordable units were built since 2014, ranking it on the bottom 5 citywide. Barely any is being built. The Bruckner Boulevard rezoning is the best opportunity on the table to add much-needed housing to Providence. Bruckner Boulevard is a very wide corridor with access to multiple bus routes. It can and should have more density. The current zoning would not range in the infinite number of homes. Concerns around neighborhood traffic surrounding the expressway. Providing sufficient housing is far more important.
Wait all night. Okay? You folks can't stay quiet. I'm gonna ask them to wait for you all.
Then I hear about infrastructure, how our sewers can't take it. That's where new buildings can be part of the solution. Why not ask the developers when the stormwater retention system would be feasible? So when it rains, there's less runoff in our sewers. On schools, I've heard from some folks, PS14 can't handle it even with the school expansion. Then I remember some of the same folks were opposed to that school expansion for being too big. Right into the Bronx Times. Our school is not overcrowded. Well, the enormous size of the we will never be able to play all of those seats. This age so full and so fast. It's incredible considering official enrollment numbers at PS14 have moved downwards since that was written. I don't think these issues have been argued in good faith. To close,
Democratic process, that's what we're here for. We hear everybody's opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but you have to show the respect. This is a democratic process. Cannot stop people from speaking. That is not the way this organization runs. That's not the way this city runs. That's not the way this country runs. You let people speak. You're entitled to hear every opinion. Let people speak, please.
Close, I spoke tonight because this is a moral imperative. I urge the members of Community Board 10 to do the right thing, to have the courage to vote in favor of this project. Let's get people homes.
After Mary Lou, we got Aiden Hickshaw.
Thank you for the speech. I don't have a whole lot to say. I'm against this. I'm against it. And I'm asking everybody here to please remain quiet. I know it's a very, very emotional, subject, but we're only making us sound ridiculous by making all these, just try to keep it down. But I really wanted to speak to, Marjorie, she asked for this way, came because I was disappointed at the way she spoke at the last, not to be derogatory, but I just felt like she didn't say anything, of substance, and I had written her the email stating that I just, when she was asking us, what do we want? And I said, we want, buildings that will stay within the rules and regulations of the low density zone. Also, I was at that presentation and took copious notes. And one of the things that was said was, and I know everyone was concerned about the infrastructure, and we were told that this organization is not responsible for improving the infrastructure at all.
And also that the fact that we're a transit zone, I mean, everyone knows what the parking situation is now already. There is not nearly going to be a one-to-one family parking spot in these buildings. So it's already a horrendous situation, and I've been here for over 30 years, and I love the community, I love my church, I love the senior centers, I love everything about it. And so many people have, done this, came here because you came from overcrowded neighborhoods. And if anybody cares to Google the LaGuardia Airport Flight Obstruction Area, I suggest that you do that. Thank you very much, Williams.
Amy?
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Eden, and I lived in this community for over 33 years. I grew up on Malcolm Avenue and I was my son. I lived in this community for over 33 years. I grew up on Malcolm Avenue and I raised my son here. Until last year, that food town was my supermarket. 304 MS 101 were my son's schools. My parents, my sister, my beloved neighbors own houses in the neighborhood. And when I started to save and look for a place to buy a few years ago, naturally I wanted to stay close. But it's impossible. It's even with a stable, good paying city job that I have, even with the tight saving habits that my parents instilled in me, I found it impossible to buy anything that was affordable. And I eventually bought in a small co-op in another Bronx neighborhood. But I'm here all the time. My son's school activities, my parents are older, so I'm here to stay close. My best friend always here. It's where my nail salon is. It's where, my doctors used to be. If I had any options, besides renting or taking out a $750,000 loan on a mortgage, I would have. But that fiscal responsibility that my parents taught me goes both ways. And I didn't feel that I could justify that on a single income. I'm sympathetic to the concerns that I heard today. I grew up in this neighborhood. But I strongly believe that we have to be more open to housing so that our friends, neighbors, and family can stay. This is the neighborhood I love and I was born and raised in and I couldn't stay in. It allows the kids that are, your kids to stay in the neighborhood that they grew up in. I feel like a housing project like this is sorely needed and it's a drop in the bucket when it comes to what New York City needs. I think that the project comes with great opportunities when it comes to commerce, climate change, transit. I know everybody loves their cars, my family too. Everyone's got 2-3 cars in a household, but I gave up mine in 2014 and I'm fine because this is a walkable, transit-rich neighborhood. I don't need a car. And I think this is a neighborhood that's welcoming, supportive one, despite what you might hear or see today. And I think that folks, I support that proposal because folks deserve a safe and unified, affordable home in a great neighborhood like this. Thank you so much.
All right, folks, we're gonna calm down. We're gonna have the presentation now from Ackerman and Project Associates. I've got Jackie Skorinsky and James Savini. We'll give them 7 to 10 minutes for the presentation. And again, Jackie, James, address the board, not the public.
Good evening, members of board time. My name is Jacqueline Scurinci of Agerman LLP on behalf of the owners and applicants of the Bruckner rezoning. I'm joined here this evening by James Servino, and Petersboro, the owners of Site B, Peter Pavona, the owner of Site A, as well as our architect, property architects, Chris Decker. I'm going to now turn it over. I just wanted to remind everyone that this is the first step in the public review process. It is a public process where public feedback is taken first at the community board, so this is the first step. We appreciated the feedback that we received at the land use committee, and obviously, further feedback at the full board meeting, and, as the project continues, we will continue to get feedback from the public. So it's appreciated. And now I will turn it over to Dean Serino, who will speak to you about the project's benefits.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking this meeting and giving us the opportunity to present this development project. 20 years ago, I was a school teacher, high school, lived, born, raised right up the bridge in College Point, was raised above a deli, and know what it's like to be a working man and needing affordable housing. So I think it's really important to note that this is not just a development for the community. We need homes, we need housing, we need rental apartments, affordability for nurses, police, firemen, sanitation. The average blue-collar worker cannot afford $1 million home or $750,000 condominium. We really need to supply this community with rental space for our children, for people that are starting up in this area. This, at least, we're saying we didn't come in from the back door here. We wanted to come in with the community board, with the elected politicians. We wanted to meet with them and say, what can we do? So in the last few years, we've been helping the food insecure, getting involved with the food pantry. I run a food pantry in Queens. I run a food pantry and support a food pantry over here. We want to create space for a non-profit group. We want to build on Site B. We want to put a education center. Right now, I'm renting at a loss to a baseball batting cage for youth. We want to do that. We want to be part of this community. We're not in it to make a big, fast buck. We want to support the needs and insecurity of the public.
Where do you live?
Don't leave College Point, Queens. Don't leave
Ask him if he owns a building by the site.
He owns a couple of buildings.
Folks, that's it, all right? That's 2 strikes now. Keep it down, let them finish their presentation, and let's move on.
He's not giving us a presentation, he's giving us a story.
That's what we need here in the Bronx.
Go out of College Point. Got it. So it's very important to note that going against this development, you're going against veterans care, veterans housing, school teachers, police, fire department. 1 in 4 homeless are veterans in New York City. We really need to accommodate the elderly, affordable care. We're not doing a needle exchange program here. We're not doing a homeless shelter here. We're not starting an Antifa rally. We are bringing food, quality food to the neighborhood. Education center, police, firemen, veterans. We are
Hold on. You want us to close this down?
Yeah, we don't want to hear this guy.
It's ridiculous. You're not looking good. We're going to be here all night. Be quiet. Let him get through what he's got to get through, and we're done. We know what you want. Just relax. Respect him. Let him say what he's got to say. Whether you agree or don't
He's
agree.
not telling the
Let him
truth,
get
bro.
through with it. Respect him. We know what you want. Relax.
We can't
Be
allow him
quiet.
to lie.
You can hear him. Whatever he says, keep it inside. Let's get done with this so we can vote. It's not looking good what you're doing now. You're really looking bad.
He lives in
This
Queens,
is a good
owns a
community.
building on the site.
This is
Tell
a
him to
good
tell the
community.
truth.
You're good people. Show it. Show the respect.
Thank you. So getting back to the percentages of homes, rental apartments that we're going to accommodate. Jackie will get into the statistics and the numbers per development property. Next slide. The average income, again, I want to reiterate, no homeless shelter, no Antifa rallies. We're not going to be doing any of these things that people have been calling me, making threats. People have been protesting a local food market here, saying that to boycott where you get your food. That is bizarre. The average income per person, per couple, is approximately $140,000. There's no Section 8s going on here. Next slide.
So you can't rent it.
The other important thing that I want to conclude with is that the community needs access to quality food. We need to expand this. Next slide. The reason why is by entering into the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program in New York City, we're going to be making affordable food for our local schools. So when you say, are we giving back? We are giving back. We're going to be putting a nonprofit here. We're going to be creating a food pantry here. We're going to be developing environmental programs, education center, youth sports. But the most important thing we want to talk about giving back in terms of infrastructure into our schools, we need to make food, quality food, more available to our students in the local schools here.
It is another supermarket.
We need to expand. We need to make a bigger supermarket. To support and afford something like this, we really need to expand. If we don't get this upzone to open up a massive supermarket here that would create quality foods for the locals in this community and the schools, it's going to be a devastating loss. I want to conclude by saying that I'm calling out our elected politicians, just like you are. I have the right to call out my elected politicians that if you're against this development, you're against affordable housing for nurses, cops, veterans. This development is going to give affordable housing to these essential workers.
Are you guaranteeing that?
That's all I want to do. I just want to stop the misconceptions, homeless shelters, needle exchange programs.
We're not talking about
We're going to be
that.
supplying affordable housing for our essential workers. Thank you very much.
So I know many of you were at the land use committee meeting, but I do just want to remind you of what the application is here this evening. So the proposed development will be 4 sites. Also, just to clarify, the rezoning only covers 4 distinct block fronts on Bruckner Boulevard, a major commercial thoroughfare, as you know, through this area of Throgsneck. It is just north of the Throgsneck bid. It is an area that is in need of mixed-use development and a commercial corridor. There will be a commercial overlay mapped, which is the zoning overlay that permits mixed-use development over all of the sites so that it will create this continuity and spur new economic development, as well as create housing opportunities that would not be permitted right now. As part of the rezoning, I also want to just remind that these sites were not downzoned. On Bruckner Boulevard, the sites were R4, and they were contextualized with the Throgsneck rezoning. This will allow for a modest increase in density to an R6A, which allows for the 4 sites to be redeveloped. It will be 2 8-story buildings, 1 5-story building, and 1 3-story building. As you heard, overall, it's 339 dwelling units. But when you look at each of the 4 sites, which will be developed over time, it starts, site A is 139 dwelling units with 41 mandatory permanently affordable housing units. Site B will be 114 units with 34 permanently affordable units. Site C will be 64 units with 19 affordable units, and Site D will be 22 units. That's the 3-story building. As James stated, it will be 15 veterans apartments across sites A, B, and C.
Where do you live?
Next slide, please. Okay, next one. Okay, just to explain what the mandatory inclusionary housing program is, this is the zoning action where all the sites will be mapped with this text amendment. So some of you were saying, oh, you're promising affordable housing. This requires that if new residential development is built here, there will be 30% of the residential floor area that will be permanently affordable. And as you can see from the income, they range from $66,880 for a studio to $85,920 for a 2-bedroom apartment. I know for me, coming out of law school, it's definitely something I would follow.
Oh, yeah, sure you
Just moving to the next slide. So I was speaking about the distinct locations. I don't want to waste too much of your time, but these are the sites just north of the Throgs Neck Bid. Moving to the next slide. Next slide. This is Site D, further along the Bruckner Boulevard. Next slide. This is the supermarket site that you all know. The supermarket will close without the rezoning. Next slide.
It'll close without the rezoning, really?
And then Site C and Site D are
Is that a
vacant.
threat?
They've been vacant historically. There's nothing on them. They can be redeveloped with really nice new developments here. Next slide. Just to bring, you've heard that the affordable housing crisis affects all of New York City, but to bring it very locally, Community District 10 has called out in their statement of needs the aging and unmaintained housing stock here, and there is a 1.4% vacancy rate. It's extremely low, so there is a need for new housing. Additionally, this Community Board 10 has the second highest population of age 65 and over living in poverty. So there's even more of a need for senior housing in this community.
What?
And there's a need for new housing. If the zoning remains the same, no new housing will be built.
This is the part where they
And
pull
there's a
your
need for it.
heartstrings. They make you feel bad. Your moral and legal obligation.
Just moving to food security and economic development, we're also called out the new retail and community facility will generate new jobs, and it will also keep the supermarket jobs, which is about 80 jobs right now that are for local Broadtown community members. Moving to the next slide. So the land use actions that are requested for the board to vote on this evening are zoning map amendments from the R41 and R4A districts to an R6A, C24 commercial overlay along sites A, B, and C block fronts, and then also to an R5B for site D, which is the smaller lot along the Bruckner Expressway. And also the zoning text amendment to map mandatory inclusionary housing, and also the demapping. Moving to the next slide, just to give you the rendering. This is the site where the supermarket is located and the housing.
60,000 residents per month use this supermarket. 60,000 residents.
You live there. 7 minutes are up.
Yeah, because of presentation.
Site B, this will be a 5-story mixed-use development where the ground floor will be community facility space. James mentioned there's currently the batting cages there now, but it's intended to be repurposed as community facility and recreation space for youth. And Site C will provide new, much-needed professional office space as well as housing. And Site D will be 22 units of residential housing. Just to remind everyone, as part of the environmental, as part of the land use application and environmental review was completed, we heard your concerns about infrastructure. That is part of the environmental review, and any significant adverse impacts would require further study. This site did not trigger any significant adverse impacts on the environment here. Additionally, all the sites will be required, I know there was concerns about sewers and sanitary, there will be required to have site connection proposals, which requires that there be no significant impacts on current infrastructure. So all of the new developments will have to comply with very stringent stormwater requirements and sanitary sewer hookup requirements.
Can you drive down Tremont now?
And
They're done yet?
if there are any questions, sorry, but thank you for your time and we appreciate it.
Nobody's convinced. Nobody's convinced.
Can't even drive down Tremont now.
All right, folks, we're going to continue with our public participation. I'll remind everyone it's about 8:07. So I know we got about 11 speakers left, but everyone gets 3 minutes, but if you can speed it up, we'll all appreciate that. The next one up is Luke Zabadonis. All right, after Luke is Andy Michalowicz, and then Joseph Bain.
Hi, everybody. My name is Luke Zalvados. My name is Luke Zalvados. I live in the Bronx, and I urge the board members tonight to support the construction of housing with this project. I am somebody who is personally affected with friends and family who have to move out of their apartments. Their landlords are raising the rents astronomically, and one of the things that we can do to combat the lack of housing and the rental burden that working class New Yorkers share is by constructing new places so that we can alleviate some of that need. I know there's a lot of opposition here tonight, but I really urge you to vote in support of this. I think in about 3 years, this will all be water under the bridge.
After Andy with Joseph Bain, as president of the chair.
Thank you for having me here. My name is Andrew McCollinez. I live at 1230 Clinton Avenue. I hope that you guys do not go there. I've lived here since 1969. My parents moved here. This has always been a family, working family area. This area, my granddaughter goes to PS14. She can't go to an after-school center because they have to ship her to 72 because they don't have enough room for them. There was a lottery. Now, I had from Ida over 4 feet of water in my basement. The sewers coming up. Every single one of my neighbors had water coming up in the basement. One neighbor of their house. There's no way you're going to tell me that adding 190, 300 and so on, the sewer systems can't take it. It's impossible. So I would greatly discourage this. Parking, you ever see going on PS14 over here? It's triple parked over here. You can't get through. The fire department, buses, cars, anyone getting over there between 2 and 4 o'clock, forget about it. Every single day, if you ever go down Tremont Avenue, Tremont Avenue is always full. What are we going to do with the highway over here? Once they start building the overpass, I noticed that it's rusting. And I see that retaining wall doesn't look all that happy either. So I believe that there's going to be a lot more problems, and they're not going to fix it. The city's going to end up having our taxes. That's right. Folks, please keep it down. Let's get through this. Everyone get there in 3 minutes. Did you sign up? Did you sign up? I would have loved to. Well, you didn't, so don't go. I would have loved to. Well, you didn't. I'm here my whole life and I would have business. Okay. You can't even get 18 wheelers off the street. They walk trucks on
This application is approved. The effects upon our community will be detrimental. They can't be eliminated with the stroke of a pen.
The reason why you can't hear him is everybody's talking.
Okay. Our infrastructure can't support this project or the additional overdevelopment which will eventually follow. And the probability of that additional overdevelopment was already conceded to by the lady from Ackerman LLP at the St. Benedict meeting. Okay? All the problems we currently endure, lack of parking, traffic congestion, overcrowded schools and hospitals, litter streets, slow police response, excessive noise, power outages, sewer problems,
They're all going to increase when it comes over. Besides the applicant control proposed buildings, now those are bad enough in and of themselves. There are approximately 30 other parcels of land which are area that we still have to development if this application is introduced. Secondly, and just as importantly, many of the centers are specifically because of the low density nature of this community. It will be unfair for us to be the product of these hard-fought corporate governments solely in order to enrich a handful of developers. Thirdly, developments of this nature always bear the risk of morphing into something vastly different than most wish. The Colin Boran went for proposed veteran senior housing to support housing for 8 sufferers, many of whom have proven to be substance abusers, unstable, disruptive, and destructive. 2,800 Bruckner's plans changed from a proposed holistic wellness center to a substance abuse treatment facility directly across the street from the preschool for disabled children. We got that one. And I'm very confident the board will reject this disastrous proposal, which benefits no one other than these particular developers. And I'm hopeful that our council member, who possesses the greatest power to defend this from this threat, will choose her constituents over developers, paid lobbyists, and de facto lobbyists such as Open University. Thank you.
Frank Verduccio. After Frank, I've got Scott Barnard and then Will Thomas.
Thanks a lot. The ultimate question we all have is what will our neighborhood be like if this development is accomplished? Fortunately, history provides a clue. Throughout the city of New York, developments like this have gone on to middle-class neighborhoods just like ours. The end result is the destruction of that neighborhood. Like many of you, I took $20,000 worth of damage to my home from the last flood. There's no way they're going to build new sewers and water lines. We will be destroyed. Now, I live on Fairmont Avenue. Unlike a lot of the people who testified in favor of this project, I actually live here. We were told of our testimony that we're not supposed to bring politics into this. Everyone speaking in favor of this ridiculous project talked about climate change, housing crisis around the world, world poverty. We are here, and your job as a community board is to protect this neighborhood. This project our community is destroyed. It's your job to save it.
Scott Barnard. After Scott, we have Will Thomas and Carol DeChiara.
I respectfully ask everybody in this board here to vote no. I live 2 blocks down from this proposed project. Infrastructure is bad. I was 3 feet underwater at the last storm. I don't want this to happen to anybody else. Again, in the morning, the traffic is unbelievable. You're gonna have people pulling out of a building on Crosby Avenue. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I can't get up there half the time myself now between people parking cars at the school. I would hate to see something happen to like an emergency vehicle, something like that. I don't believe that this is proper, and I'm against it. Thank you.
Will Thomas, and then Carol DeChiara, and then Denise Zelke.
Hello, everyone. My name is William Thomas, and I serve as the Executive Director of Open New York. I'm here to testify today in support of the rezoning of Bruckner Boulevard. Open New York is a independent, demonstrated pro-housing nonprofit. We support the rezoning because there is a dire need for more housing in the neighborhood and New York City as a whole, which the 339 homes proposed here will help to address. I believe on some level, everyone knows New York has a terrible housing shortage. But let me add some context to this conversation. Right now, New Yorkers are facing rent increases of up to 50, 60, 70% as rent discounts offered during the pandemic expired. Homelessness is at the highest rate since the Great Depression. There are over 14,000 children who sleep in city shelters each night. The 94 affordable homes this rezoning would provide are desperately needed, especially in a council district that has only seen 54 such units built since 2014. But I should also emphasize that this neighborhood plainly needs more housing. Out of all the community boards in the city, Bronx Community Board 10 comes in 43rd in terms of new housing permitted per capita. In other words, when it comes to new construction, Community Board 10 might not be dead last, but it's in the bottom 10 out of 51. This may not be a problem for all. This may not be a problem for longtime homeowners. After all, they already own their homes. But for anyone looking to find a new place in the neighborhood, whether you're a newly married couple looking to buy a place or a senior looking to downsize to an accessible home with an elevator, the lack of new construction is devastating. I want to address some opponents' quality of life concerns and emphasize that this project is a clear improvement. This project is a clear improvement of the status quo, replacing vacant land, a batting cage, and a grocery store with another grocery store. It will actively help local businesses while providing them with more customers. At the end of the day, we are talking about an apartment building. An apartment building. It will hardly overwhelm or destroy the neighborhood. To put it plainly, we live in a city where there aren't enough homes for the people who want to live here, which has horrifying human consequences. That is the terrible shadow over the neighborhood, the quality of life issue to address. I hope the community board can consider that and ultimately support some version of the project. Thank you.
Folks, we got a parking situation. So the owner, of a Toyota Sienna license plate. DFG 2803. Please move your car. You're blocking someone in. DFJ, I'm sorry. DFJ 2803. You got Toyota Sienna. I think it's going out of time. Guys, don't worry about where people live, okay? Everyone's got right to their opinion, everyone's here for a reason. Valerie Chiara. After that, Denise Slicky, and then Marion Diaz.
Hello, board. Thank you all. Guys, don't make I'd like to address what they have said here tonight. And that's the only thing we really should address, because we all know how we feel, right? So out of the apartment buildings or the apartments that they plan on, 94 would be affordable. That's really low if you want to put affordable housing. The other thing is that there's 15 veterans. 15. What is 15 apartments going to do? Senior housing. I didn't see a number for senior housing. Well, how many? 2? 1? None? 10? I'd like to know. It's not answered. The other thing that I'd like to say is that, the 8-story building is out of place in this neighborhood. It's completely out of place. It does not go Now, the other thing that I'd like to say is that the vacant land has been there for years. We have lived with an eyesore for years, and now the developers, because they've gotten together, they want to take advantage of the situation. Why would we let these developers get rich, and we've had to look at it for all these years? The other thing is, that I'd like to say is, we are middle class, and there's nothing wrong with being middle class. And there's nothing wrong with wanting a single-family home or a multi-family home. There's nothing wrong with low-density communities. Some people might have moved here because they want to be there.
So there's nothing wrong with our community. And don't let anybody tell you that we need anything else than what we have, because we've moved here because of it. Thank
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Denise Zeckley. I'm a resident of the Waterbury LaSalle neighborhood. I spent my career in public service to the people of New York City. I grew up in this neighborhood, and after living in other parts of the city for 11 years, I moved back here to raise my family. The neighborhood surrounding the proposed rezoning is served by one public and one parochial school, both of which have been struggling, especially in the wake of the pandemic. PS 14, which recently underwent an expansion, did so in order to accommodate the influx of students who enrolled when District 8 schools were rezoned to help lessen the overcrowding at PS 71. St. Benedict's recently received an influx of students, pushing class sizes to the limits when nearby OLA closed due to the height of the pandemic. Allowing the proposed upzoning would increase class sizes even more, putting a further strain on our classrooms and on our children who are already struggling to make up for learning gaps that they suffered during the pandemic. Rezoning to allow hundreds of residential units would exponentially increase traffic slowdowns, would make parking near impossible. Beyond that, the disruption to vehicle and pedestrian traffic that the construction of these sites currently proposed would make our daily commutes to school and work even more difficult and potentially dangerous. I'm a public transit commuter. I've been one for more than 20 years. I can also say that the proposed upzoning would put a further strain on our already struggling bus and subway routes. If you look at the proposal, it tells you that from Bruckner and Logan, it's 6 minutes to Middletown Road. It's not. I walk to Middletown Road every day from near Waterbury Park. It takes at least 8 minutes if I'm hustling. To get there from the proposed sites, you need to take the 40, the 42, or the 8 bus. And good luck with that. If you can get on the bus, I see that my time is running short, so I'm going to skip to the end of things. We cannot fall prey to the false narrative that these developers are looking out for the community because they are including affordable housing as a portion of their proposed residential buildings. Their proposal includes mandatory inclusionary housing because it is mandatory. They want to apply for rezoning for a project to build anything that includes more than 10 units. They're required to include a percentage of units below market value. This is not a bad requirement, but no one should be fooled into thinking that the developers have put forth this proposal because of their philanthropic beliefs. So that they can build more units that will add to their rental incomes and bring them further profit. If they truly want to provide the much needed affordable housing for our community, let them do it within the current zoning law.
Good evening to the board. Thank you for this opportunity to address this matter. My name is Maria, and unlike the people who are voting yes on this project, I am a member of this community. And I vote no, an unequivocal, absolute no to changing our code beyond the pockets of developers. I vote no to adding children to an already burdened school system that cannot currently properly service the children in our community. I have a neighbor who has to pay for her child to go to private school outside of her neighborhood, not out of choice, but out of need, because her child cannot get a seat at the zoning school despite the fact that she pays property taxes, and that includes the right for her child to learn in this neighborhood. I vote no to the overtaxing of our 45th precinct and putting my community at a higher risk of not getting the attention it needs during a time when they may need it the most. I vote no to adding an unfair burden to our FDNY, putting my neighbors, their homes, and our businesses at risk of not getting the attention they deserve during their potential loss of everything they worked for to build and risk of losing lives. I vote no to adding burdens to our hospitals, increasing hours of wait for my neighbors and my family, especially during a pandemic. I vote no to increase property taxes and decrease property values. I vote no to decrease parking spaces and increase traffic patterns. I do vote yes. Yes to building housing within our current zoning laws. And I invite the builders and any member of Opening Earth to give back to our community that has been supportive to them. They can use their extra funds to solve the real problems of our community, our lacking of infrastructure, and help strengthen our school system, strengthen our hospitals, increase our precincts and our FDNY. I urge the community board to support its community and vote no as well.
John Cortese? All right, you just left? All right, Bob Woelfel? After Bob, I've got Kevin Pietro, P-I-E-T-R-O-W, and then Joe Brogan. That's Bob.
I would like to address the board, but I don't like turning my back.
It's okay.
Anybody here. So, I was gonna go in a different direction, but everybody has basically said that. So I wrote a few comments down, just to make an observation, okay? First of all, everything has been said already, so I'm not gonna repeat it and keep everybody here forever. Congestion, lack of parking, school overcrowding, FDNY and police problems, etc. I have lived here for 78 years. Let me lean up. Okay, I have lived here for 78 years. I love this place, except for the $93,000 worth of damage I had from the recent flood because the sewers here can't handle it. Okay. All right. I would simply like to address on a different thing that hasn't been addressed, and it's the character of these people. And the reason that I'm trying to push this through, okay? One of the problems I had was that, I never thought of it, but they had mentioned the democratic process. I have been putting signs around the neighborhood, and they have been torn down. They have been torn down. I confronted the person who was tearing them down, and I said, "What are you doing that for? What are you doing that for?" And he said, "You're littering." So I took a video of him. I have the video of it, and I'm saying, this is not a democratic process. I don't mind giving an argument, and I don't mind listening to his argument, but it should be democratic. So I think that was almost ironic that that was said in the beginning. Okay, I will end here. Listen, we all know what this is about. It is not about providing more housing. It is not about sports for the kids. It is not about better food. It's all about money for people that don't even live here.
Kevin? All right, Joe Brogan? After Joe, I've got Joseph, yeah. All right?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Yes. Good evening, community board. I am not screaming at you. I just want everyone to hear me. My name is Joe Brogan. I live in the community. I have lived in the community my entire life. I want to just speak quickly about public safety and quality of life. Before I do, please take notes down. Miss Mooney, I think it was, and I was approached myself by a gentleman who showed me paperwork if this is true, and I believe it to be true, I saw even Mayor Adams sign on to it. The FAA may trump all of this. An 8-story building in this zone is in direct violation of federal law. The primary runway at LaGuardia Airport, please write this down, it's number 22. Look up FAA, LaGuardia Airport 22. You cannot build what the proposals are, it exceeds the height. It can't be done, so this proposal should go forward just based on that. It should make it move. Let me just please move on after that. Everyone knows now, currently, the Bruckner Interchange is the most congested section or corridor of road in New York City. I hope the community board is aware that Bronx County is the leading county, not just in New York City, New York State, the entire United States, in the highest asthma rates, as well as significant other respiratory illnesses. Now, I just want to end, it's been said before, but it must be emphasized. There's no way the 45th Precinct, our Engine 89, there's no way they are already working way below what they could work with. They need more resources. This project cannot go forward unless we have guarantees of additional policing, additional, I only got 40 seconds left, additional, the fire department, the hospitals need more beds. None of this has been addressed. Sanitation, everyone knows our sewer system is deficient, to say the least. Our water system, no one spoke about our water system, our water pressure. No one spoke, I'm sorry, it's not being addressed by the applicants. All right, that's what I mean. And the schooling, everyone knows about PS 71, PS 14, PS 72, the overcrowding. We have no additional buses, no additional subways, no additional roading. All right, so I have to end it here. I have a lot more to say, but let's thank you. Our elected official, Margie Blasquez, is on record as opposing.
Jenny? Oh, is that Joe? Lawton Avenue? How do I pronounce that last name? All right, Officer Joe. Address the board.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Joe Catanzarino. What's next? Okay. Some of you may not know, I am a retired New York City building inspector. Of course, I used to work for the, as a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Okay, and the gentleman before me just said it's correct. And there is a federal mandate. This is a law in case you're interested in it. You guys need to check this out. Okay, stating that Bronx Neck is in the flight obstruction zone of LaGuardia Airport. This is it right here. Okay? Inside the flight obstruction right there. Okay? Where you see that triangle, you can't build anything of what they're proposing. And what I want to reach out to you to say now, before you make a decision, okay, that you need to research this and get a handle on whether or not they're complying with this is a federal regulation which supersedes the zoning. Okay? The second thing I want to say is that this whole project here, in my opinion as an inspector, is a facade. Because what's going to happen is that after they build this, they are going to invoke as of right zoning, which is going to allow them to manipulate the zoning regulations and build anything that they want to build. And in a couple of years, Bronx Neck is going to just be another concrete chunk.
Park residents, I haven't lived here that long. But I can tell you that I moved here from high-density communities. I lived in High Bridge, I lived on the Grand Concourse, I lived on Parkchester, and I lived in the South Bronx. And I also know Queens very well, and those that heard of Long Island City, and know all the overdevelopment that they contributed in that community by these developers is a disaster. And I'll tell you why. They keep throwing housing and affordable. It's a lie. It's a total lie. The only affordable is affordable to their pockets, not to our community and not to us. Let me give you some right stats, because Open New York deleted me from their account because I threw some stats at them. And let me tell you out of Twitter, let me tell you, currently in PS 304, there's 403 students waiting to get into kindergarten. 483 kids that live in this community and cannot get into kindergarten. Where is the shortage? There's no shortage of housing. We have in 10465, there are over 250 rental apartments vacant. Housing development, a total of 2,600 of affordable housing. And what I mean affordable, it's not market. It's based on your income. 20% of your income, you're allowed to live there. That's affordable, not market value. In addition to that, when they mention Co-op City and there's a wait list, you know why there's a wait list? Because they have repairs to be made. That's the wait list. There's no wait list in Co-op City. And let me tell you what we need in our community, okay? We need, this is what we need, an affordable supermarket. Because I don't supermarket that provides food to Hispanics, Blacks, Asians, all denominations, where Food Town does not provide. Okay? Let me tell you what else we need to do. Expand our schools. Expand our hospitals. Okay? Add additional transportation. It takes us an hour from Westchester Square, waiting for a bus to take me all the way to Lafayette Avenue. These are our issues. We live here and we breathe it every day. Okay? Don't be fooled by the narrative.
Hi, my name is John O'Leary. I'm a retired local electrician and a business owner in this neighborhood for 30 years. It's not about color. I taught blacks, Chinese, yellow, orange, blue karate for years. If they couldn't afford it, I taught them for free. It's not about affording nothing. I couldn't afford it. You know what? I worked for my house. I put 3 kids through Catholic school and college, broke my ass, worked overtime, 7 days a week. Nobody gave me nothing. And for you, Food Town, shame on you, because we supported you for years and years and years. But what I'm saying is you can fool some people some of the time, but you can't fool all people all the time. And we are not fools. If you vote for this is on you. Also, I live maybe in the middle of the block of Food Town, 8 o'clock in the morning, honk, honk, honk. You can't even get triple parked cars. Plus, the ambulance can't get by, buses can't get by, and the garbage in my house that I gotta pick up every day that I've never seen before. It's a shame. Don't vote for this crap. Kevin Pietro. Kevin here? Kevin? John spoke at the last meeting. Talk again. Let me talk again.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. As a former board member, I know where you stand on this, and I know that your belief is our community is special. It's special because of all the work that we put into it, all the sweat, protesting, standing up, fighting against overdevelopment from 2002 to now. It is not that we are against development, because let's remember the TVs that were on Middletown Road, they're gone, right? And there's 2-family homes there, which was within the zone. So anything within the zoning, we're not gonna fight it. Outside of the zoning, we can't. We don't have the infrastructure. I am grateful that when my son was at Pier 71, the year that he was graduating from 8th grade, I know you guys know that's difficult for me. So when he was graduating from 8th grade, I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep him in the community. And everybody knows how special he is. But then Pier 71 created the annex, and they allowed him to stay there until he was going to high school. Which meant that I could walk into school, and that if he spilled something on his pants, I could get there quickly. So I feel for all the parents that cannot take their child to school and walk them and be available to them. Because those are the precious years. You cannot lose that here. I moved here because of the community, because of every time I drove around. And yes, I'm in real estate, and development is important, but stick within the zoning.
As our last speaker on participation, I have a motion to close public participation. All in favor? Aye. This is a resolution. This resolution was passed by the Housing and Zoning Committee last Tuesday. There's 13 members on the Housing and Zoning Committee, 11 voted in favor, 1 recused himself, and 1 was absent. The resolution reads, resolved at the recommendation of the Housing and Zoning Committee, the committee draft a letter of disapproval to the City of New York City Planning Commission on the matter of uniform land use review procedure application C22000 7ZMX, and this is forwarded to the full board for its approval. So again, if you are in favor of the resolution, you're telling us to draft a letter of disapproval. Everybody understand that? Okay, do I have a motion? Motion to move. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, on the proposal, any questions from the board? Okay, Matt, do the roll call vote.
About how you fell in love with it and what shows
Thomas
it that made you
Acamando.
think like, oh, yes.
Raquel Baez.
Yes means they're against the upzoning.
Yes to disapprove.
Folks, I'll say it again. The resolution is to draft a letter of disapproval to the City of New York. So if you vote in favor of the resolution, we're going to draft a letter of disapproval. If our members vote against the resolution, we're voting a letter of approval. Okay?
Bob Peter.
Yes.
Milagros Tufano.
Yes.
Peter Cantillo. Maria Caruso.
Yes.
Andrew Sharico.
Yes.
Peter Del Devio.
Yes.
Terrence Franklin.
Yes.
George Havernack.
Yes.
Deborah Hunt.
Yes.
Dorothy Kranicki.
Yes.
Malone Lychee.
Yes.
John Morano.
Yes.
Susan McMillan.
Yes.
Joseph Mondello.
Yes.
Martin Morris.
Yes.
Mary Jane Musano.
Yes.
Lou Popovic, conflict? Recused, thank you. John Robert.
Yes.
Nancy Rosario.
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Tony Salambeni,
With my neighbors, yes.
Tom Smith,
Yes.
Janine Thomas, that's it. Motion carries.
Folks, the next step in the Folks, just remember the next step in the process, we are an advisory board. The next step in the process goes to city council, goes to the borough president's office. So if you're against this, it's not over. So continue to do what you have to do. That process is over. Folks, also, we got 4 minutes. State Senator Plum is here.
The city,
Folks, come on, I know you're all excited.
Andrew!
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I was happy to be here doing my very spirited debate.
Did you see my video of it?
So for those of you who don't know me, with the proposed new senatorial district lines, I will be inheriting, if I win the election, all of Silver Beach, a good part of Frog's Neck, and other areas in CD10. So there's a good possibility that I will be representing a good part of this community after January. Certainly the election's in November, but if I were to win, I get installed in January. And so I am here today because I wanted to hear this discussion. I can't take a position because I am not right now your state senator. That's Alexander Biaggi, I believe. But this is one thing I will tell you, and I think some of the members of the board can tell you, that I always attend my community board meetings. Whether I'm in a hot seat or not, and even before I started representing this area, I would attend Committee Board 10 meetings, mostly through virtual meetings. But I guarantee you that I will be attending these meetings if elected. And I want to get to know all of you. The next few weeks, I'm going to be visiting your neighborhoods. I will let you know who I am. I will be presenting information. One of my staff members is here already to give you information in case you need assistance. But if any of you want to talk to me beforehand, I'm going to give you my personal cell number. It is 347-582-8173. And let me repeat it one more time. 347-582-8173. If any of you would like to speak with me, give me a call. I'm available up until midnight. My name is Luis Sepulveda. I represent the 32nd District in the Bronx. With the new lines, I will be inheriting a lot of Community Board 10. Thank you all for your attention. I hope to hear from you soon.
All right, folks, it's 8:50. We're taking a 5-minute recess, and we're going to start again at 8:55 with the full board meeting.
See, still gonna go on.